Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Screen Speak. It's the podcast that's all about movies, life, and so much more. I'm Jordan Anderson, creator and host of Screen Speak, and as always, I'm thrilled to have each and every one of you come by and give this a listen. Joining me in this episode is a true cinephile and advocate of the arts. It's Andrew Sherburne. Andrew is the executive director and co-founder of Film Scene, a nonprofit cinema that's been a staple in the cultural scene of Iowa City since 2013. He's also a driving force behind the Film Scene-supported second annual Refocus Film Festival, which I'm happy to say is returning to the Iowa City area starting October 12th, going all the way through the 15th. During this episode, I talk with Andrew, of course, about all things Refocus and Film Scene, including our thoughts about the theatrical experience, the art of adaptation, and the relation that has with this festival, what makes this film fest stand apart from the others that are out there, and a lot more. We even get into Film Scene's mission and what that brings to the Iowa City community and beyond. So I really think whether you're a film buff listening to this, someone that attends film festivals often, or you're simply curious about movies and looking at them in different ways, this episode is sure to have something in it for you. Now, while you're listening to the episode or after you finish listening, be sure to check out the description of this episode. It contains all the information that you need to know about this festival, including the film programming for it, fest passes, Andrew himself, and of course, Film Scene. I purposely go out of my way to ensure that my episode descriptions are not just containing filler stuff, but content that you can actually use to get connected to what's going on within the local entertainment scene and beyond. Seriously, check out the description and visit the links that are in it. It, of course, helps bring awareness to the folks that I have on and what they have going on in life, but even more broadly than that, it raises awareness of the great, exciting, and wonderful art that is out there in the world. Lastly, if you would be so kind, please do hit that follow button on whatever it is that you're listening to this on. Help ScreenSpeak continue to grow and get into the ears of even more listeners that are out there. And after you hit the follow button, take part in the ScreenSpeak community over on social media, being Instagram and Facebook. Or feel free to send me an email anytime with your thoughts, suggestions for episodes, or maybe even some questions that you have. Happy as always to engage with each and every one of you. And speaking of asking me questions or reaching out, I got a question for all of you. If you're paying attention to this is episode 95 of ScreenSpeak, which means that episode 100 is just around the corner. So my question for all of you is this. What would you like to see in a 100th episode special of ScreenSpeak? Would you want to see me do something live, perhaps like an Instagram live or a live episode? Special guests have on, do some giveaways, maybe a combination of all that? What do you want to see? Let me know, because really on this one, the 100th episode, which it's crazy that I'm even saying that, I want to roll out the red carpet for you on that one and do something really special for you all. And the reason for that is because, just going back to the core of what this thing is all about, ScreenSpeak is and always will be for me, everybody, a labor of love towards the entertainment industry and the world of movies as a whole. And I truly would not have made it this far in the podcast and been able to do all this stuff without the support of you being my listeners here. I really cannot overstate that enough or say it enough, because it's the truth. It really is. So if you've been here since the beginning of this, I cannot thank you enough. I'm so thrilled to have you listen to the podcast, and I'm so glad that you keep coming back for more episodes. Every time you see that notification, you come back and hit play. That means the world to me. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, well, guess what? Even better. Awesome, in fact, because you picked a great first episode to show up on, because this film festival is exciting. It's got some neat stuff that I've never seen from any other film festival that I know about, and in general, just for my podcast, I hope that you stick around and come back for more episodes here. So, all that being said, let me know what you're thinking either by messaging me on email or social. It really does not matter to me on this. You message, I respond. It's that simple. All right. Without any further ado, let's just get into this conversation I have with Andrew Sherburne and learn everything that we need to know about the second annual Refocus Film Festival. Do you go by Andy or Andrew?
I go by Andrew.
Okay, I was not sure. I was like, Andy seems like a little like I would have to know him kind of well enough to like throw that out there, so I don't think so.
Well, it's interesting because my co-founder at Film Scene is Andy Brody, so it was an Andy and an Andrew.
That'd
Thankfully,
be confusing.
We already went by Andy and Andrew, so we didn't have to, paper, rock, scissors or whatever to figure out who.
That makes sense.
Had to go by a nickname.
So, what is your name? Where are you from? I mean, you just kind of give me the story of Andrew.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Sherburne. I am the co-founder and executive director here at Film Scene. I am originally from Minnesota. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota. Grew up in the Twin Cities and moved to Iowa in the late 90s, 1997, to go to Grinnell College. So that's what brought me to Iowa. And then, moved back to Minnesota for a bit and lived in the Uptown neighborhood of Minneapolis. And in Uptown, there were, one of the things that I loved about living there was it was a very culturally rich area, but especially it was easy to see movies because there was a 6-screen Landmark Cinema there and the kind of historic Uptown Movie Palace that, was like one of those massive, 900-seat auditoriums. And both of those being just a few blocks from my house, it was easy to go to the movies whenever I want. Like on a whim, you could check the show times or you could just show up at the door and see what was playing. And so it was really easy, and movie going became just a habit, something that I do once or twice a week. And I think that really was the foundation of kind of my love for not just the movies, but going to the movies.
Now, when you go to the movies, you say once or twice a week, do you always have to do it with a group? Do you mind going solo?
I don't mind going solo. I love seeing movies by myself, but I usually would grab somebody and say, I think what's great about going to the movies is it can kind of be like a casual, open-ended, like, hey, I'm going to go see this film tonight. Who wants to come along with me? And maybe 5 people raise their hand, maybe nobody does, and either way, it's fine. Yeah, you go watch the movie and have a good time regardless.
And what do you do for Film Scene?
So I'm the executive director here at Film Scene. I've been involved, of course, since the beginning as a co-founder. Right. I think I've done a little bit of everything here. I know the recipe for the popcorn. I'm happy to sweep up floors, do whatever it takes to keep the place humming. But most of the time, as executive director, that just means that I'm working with the rest of the team to make sure that everybody's supported in the jobs that they do, and that we're all working towards the same goals.
Now, if you had to explain like what Film Scene is to somebody that has never heard of it or doesn't know what it is, like how do you what's the elevator pitch for Film Scene?
So Film Scene is Iowa City's nonprofit cinema, and that might still leave some people feeling a bit puzzled, like what is a nonprofit cinema? And we've been trying to educate people for about 10 years on what that is, but we're still pretty unique in Iowa. There's not, we were the first year-round nonprofit cinema, and now there are a few more. But that just really means that, we pick films based on what we believe are either the artistic quality of the film or the ability of those films to create conversations in our community or connect people here in Iowa City. So a lot of the decisions that we make and the way that we program our screen is less motivated by the overall box office numbers and more motivated by, do we think that this is a movie that will bring people together, that can make change, that is worthy of these screens?
When you think about movies making change, I just can't help but remark on that because sometimes when I talk to people about movies, it's easy to just be like, oh, well, they entertain you. They entertain. I hear the entertain word quite a bit. But I also definitely think there is an educational aspect to movies. And as you said, there's also a way that they can actually kind of break through different levels of the populace in forms that other media doesn't really have the capability of doing. And it does get people to talk about things that maybe aren't, I don't always say super serious, but, certainly socially relevant issues that I don't yet to see any other art form really capture.
Right. I mean, films are such an incredible vehicle for empathy, for understanding the world that we live in. Yeah. And so I think they can be used, they can be used for entertainment. I mean, our mission says that we showcase films that challenge, inspire, educate, and entertain. Sorry, let me say that one more time. Can I say that one more time?
Yeah, you can say it.
Do do-overs here?
Okay. Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, you're good.
So our mission says that we play films that challenge, inspire, educate, and entertain. So we love to entertain. I mean, that's a big part of it. Movies should be fun, but we can also cry together as well as laugh together. Yeah. And we can also be moved and understand our world more deeply together. And so that's what we want to do through a communal experience here.
Do you think the location of just Iowa City being so near, of course, to the University of Iowa, I mean, is that play like a central factor into Film Scene's just overall focus and just the audience that it plays to?
Yeah, I think this is an incredibly unique community. It's an incredibly curious community. People here are just want to be engaged, I think, in all ways, whether it's a football game or a challenging film. Yeah. So I think being here in this curious community really benefits us. It's also just a pretty dense community. We're pretty easy to get to, no matter where you live in Iowa City. Sure. And of course, any college town, people are just active and they want to be out and about. So I think all those things play into our favor. And then we have this incredible location here that
this location is pretty nice. I mean, I'm not just saying that. Like, I've been here a couple of times, but like, seriously, if you've never been here, you should probably come here. It's a really very unique theater, but it's also really state of the art too in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge part of it. So when we were founded, part of our original mission was we wanted to bring movie magic back downtown Iowa City because there were no full-time movie theaters operating then. Mm-hmm. But also we wanted to build a purpose-built cinema, so something that really if we're going to showcase film as an art form, we feel like the place that we do that should represent, should be up to the equal in terms of its artistic quality. So making sure that this is like a showcase architectural landmark was also important. And so we're incredibly fortunate that this building is beautiful. We invested heavily in the presentation aspect of it. So we have got big, bright, powerful projectors. We've got incredible sound, which is often overlooked. I think people don't realize how important sound is. They think of like
it's
big picture,
important.
Big screen, but you can get a pretty good picture at home nowadays. Not 25, 28 feet, which is what we've got here, but you can get a nice picture. But the sound, especially on modern TVs, has gotten so bad. So that full body experience that comes from sitting in a theater that has really good sound, that's, I think, even more critical than that bright picture. Anyway, we invested, regardless of which of those things moves you more. We invested heavily in the presentation. So I think what you get is film presented at its very best, and you get to enjoy it in a space that I think reflects the value that we place on art.
It's really nice to actually hear the just kind of directness that you talk about when it comes to the value that you provide to the actual experience itself. Because I find so often now, like with all the different streaming choices and everything that's out there, it's sometimes harder to convince the average moviegoer to just pony up the dough basically to go out because ticket prices, you got kids, you got all these things. But to your point, you're purposely investing into the sound, into the seats, to the actual building itself, to the community around it, to the experiences that are available there, and none of that is available on the couch.
Right.
So I think it's important that you guys do kind of go that extra step to be like, we're not just like a place to sit and watch a movie. We're going to give you a lot more than that.
Right. I mean, I think we live in an era now when, we have access at our fingertips, in fact, literally on our phones, to libraries of movie or content, as we like to call it these days, far beyond anything that you could have imagined 10, 20 years ago. So there's no shortage. You can watch 100 years worth of films on your iPhone, and there's still more. Right, there's still more to see, and never mind television. But so it's not really about that. It's about the shared experience. It's about seeing film presented the way that a director wanted you to see it, which is on a big screen where you might see details that you'll never see at home. And I think there's just something special too. I think it's also a reflection of a willingness to kind of like give yourself over to the artist. You walk into that room, the lights go down, you turn off your phone.
Yeah.
You're making a purposeful action that you're taking purposeful action. I don't want to be distracted. I want to go along with this. I want to be invested in this, and I want to be taken away by this film. And I think, we all know what it's like to watch movies at home. 15 minutes in, and then you're wondering, maybe I should, start the dishwasher or whatever.
My favorite movies that I go and see are the ones where after I leave it, I'm like, what planet am I on? Mm. Or like you feel like a different person where like you call someone and you're just like, hey, like, did you see this? Like, oh my God. Like you just have like one of those out of body experiences. And I could come up with a big list for that. But you guys got a festival.
Yeah.
You got a festival, a second annual festival. So still certainly young in terms of film festivals. It's Refocus.
Yeah.
So, got to kind of dive into this stuff, but first off, what does Refocus mean? Like, what's the name?
Yeah, so Refocus Film Festival, well, the name itself actually is borrowed or kind of repurposed, adapted from an earlier festival that existed here in the 1960s and 70s. So, Refocus Film Festival was a festival of film and photography that existed on the University of Iowa campus in the 60s and 70s. And it was actually, that was the era when American film festivals were really coming into their own. And so it was, it was kind of at the forefront. It was pretty forward thinking at the time. Robert Redford came here to go to Refocus Film Festival before there was a Sundance Film Festival. So
interesting.
Roger Ebert, Robert Altman. I mean, some pretty famous directors and film people were here. That festival didn't last, but we love the name, first of all. But we also, our festival, we say is a festival that is a celebration of the art of adaptation.
That was my second question, is why the focus on the adaptive works?
Right. So, I mean, even the original Refocus was kind of looking at both film and photography. We're looking more at film and literature because we're a city of literature. Iowa City is world-renowned. This is a UNESCO City of Literature. Known as, in many ways, as kind of the a cradle of literature in the United States. The Writers' Workshop and so many other writing programs that have existed here. The people who have been here in this community that have contributed to the American literary form over many years. We've just got that rich history. And obviously, literature and screenwriting play an incredible role in any story that we end up seeing on the big screen. And so we wanted to devote a festival to that relationship. Now, it's also, we talk about film adaptation from book to screen, from page to screen.
Sure.
But really, we're open to any sort of adaptation. We have films that are maybe based on a podcast, based on a graphic novel, based on a piece of music, based on a stage play, based on myth.
I think I even saw, because I was looking over the programming for it, and you can totally correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the movies I even saw was you guys are doing like an artist remix version of Black Panther.
So that was,
or maybe I'm misunderstanding that.
We did that last year. Yes, last year. So our first, our inaugural Refocus Film Festival was last year.
Apologies.
No, that's all right. But yeah, that's kind of flipping adaptation on its head, right? Where we took something that was a piece of cinema and then we added some additional performance aspect in front of the screen. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say we did it. We worked with an artist, Tracy Morris, who happens to be here in Iowa City again because we are this rich cultural community, and that's why she calls this place home. So Tracy had created this work that spoke in conversation between the film and kind of a rich history of Black storytelling. And so that was that piece was kind of a one of a kind. I don't know if it's ever been performed again.
Well, it definitely caught my attention, and when I read it, I almost had to do a double take because I was just like, really? Really? Someone is doing this? Like that's wild.
Yeah, it was quite an experience for everybody who was able to be here, and that was the closing event last year.
Well, speaking of last year, so what was inaugural year for it like? I mean, because I imagine just, the first of anything, I don't know how you can kind of measure an expectation for it.
Sure. I mean, the most important thing that we kept saying here in the office with our first year is that we just want to do everything well. Hopefully people show up. Hopefully everything goes off without a hitch. And we just want to get through it and establish what we do and do it well. And we did that. I think I'm incredibly proud of the team here for that first festival. And we had great audiences and great films. So I think really we couldn't have asked for a better first year. The festival, we really, because we have a pretty strong connection with the film industry, and because Iowa City has a strong connection to the film industry, we really wanted the festival to be that sort of conduit with people outside the state. Because most of what we do for our direct community.
Right.
The things that we program every week, our community collaborations, our new release films, that's for the audience that lives here in Iowa City primarily and in the surrounding areas. But a festival is really your chance to be in a broader conversation. And so that's another reason that we chose that framing for the festival, the art of adaptation, because there really isn't another festival that is devoted to that. So that's just us kind of claiming our place within the film ecosystem and saying, hey, this is what we do here, and this is the right place for this film festival.
How do you go about selecting films for the festival itself?
So our film program at the moment, at least, is entirely curated. So we have a programming team, a 2-person programming team, and their job year round is to program our screens. We show somewhere between 450 and 500 films throughout the year, which is really a staggering number. That means there's at least one new film on our screens almost every day of the year.
Yeah, that's wild.
Or more than. So it's an incredible volume of films that we're showing. So it takes a pretty dedicated team to do that. And then within that, they're also scouting for films that fit into this festival framework that we have, the art of adaptation. So actually my colleague, I guess by the time anyone listens to this, will have just returned from the Toronto International Film Festival, which is one of the major showcases of cinema here in North America. It's where a lot of Oscar campaigns are launched, and a lot of those big films that we see in the winter every year start in Toronto. So, Ben goes out to Toronto so that he can see those films, see them early, figure out how they fit into our schedule, make connections with the people who have created those teams, the people who are distributing those films, to make sure that we're out there, we're in that conversation. And that people know that this happens in Iowa, that we have this incredible place.
Just that distribution angle alone, if I had more time with you, I could sit and just talk with you about that at great length, because I think that's fascinating. Apart from just attending those, more landmark festivals that have the recognition on it, I imagine it's just got to be a fascinating process of, I'm not going to say like convincing, but just actually getting the film rights and getting them to be able to play here and, marketing them to the general public to have them understand like what makes this one special and everything like that. But for another time. I do got to ask about just, of course, the, features of this festival, some of the highlights, from doing my own research and whatnot. I saw, of course, you guys, looks like you're doing Q&As. You have some interesting, maybe workshops is like the right way to look at it, but you have like some like almost breakout room sessions, it looks like, that are kind of stacked between some of the stuff. And I know one of the ones that stood out to me, I got the list right here, there was this Whiskey Tango film scene.
Yeah.
Could you explain that one a little bit?
Sure. So, this is a film festival, right? And so part of any festival is being festive. So you gotta have fun things. So the festival itself is 4 days. We open on a Thursday with a showcase opening night film, and that film, a ticket to that film also gets you into the after party. So we open up at the Engler Theater, which is just down the road. We bring a big, powerful projector over there so that we can put on a great show in that big, beautiful,
it's a great
historic theater. And then everybody's welcome to walk over to Film Scene, and we have a big party here for awesome. 400, 500 people. And that's included in the ticket price. So that's part of it. You asked about Whiskey Tango Film Scene.
Yes.
So on Friday night, we'll have a whole bunch of films playing then. And towards the end of the night, 9:00, we gather for what we call Whiskey Tango Film Scene, or WTF. And what that is really...
realize that.
That's, our visiting guests, our filmmakers, our authors.
I saw there's a lot of authors.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so so we expect both filmmakers and authors to be here for the festival. And so that's their chance to share some stories about how their projects got made and the battles that they had to fight along the way to get their projects out into the world. And so that's just a fun storytelling hour, and we do have free whiskey samples for folks who come to that as well.
Certainly helps.
Yeah, and then that's followed by, we've got an after party just down the block, which we call Unfocus, which is just a chance to unwind. And then there's a couple other, I guess I would call them conversations. So we have in the mornings, we have coffee conversations to start the day, which are just a chance to again, hear from our visiting artists before you get into the films for the day. And we'll have a couple of conversations just about, how they do their work, or probably this year we might have a conversation about kind of labor issues and kind of the film industry right now.
Why would we be talking about labor issues now? It's crazy right now.
Yeah. So, it's just, again, chances. I think that's another great thing about film festivals is they are a chance for you to actually engage with visiting artists.
That was something that stood out to me because you mentioned the authors, of course, the filmmakers, but then I also saw too you guys have open calls out, likely I'm sure things lined up for just different types of artists, whether it be like people that paint and people that perform or do like music and things like that.
Yeah. So one of the things that we like to do, again, to keep it kind of festive and keep it vibrant throughout the weekend, is that we have art presented before every film. And so again, that's kind of like just celebrating those connections that cinema has with so many different art forms. And so really the two primary things are we have live music in front of most of our bigger shows. And then we also have visual art that we put on screen before some of the shows in our smaller screens.
I got to ask, as far as just kind of going back to the lineup here quick, I feel like Film Scene does a pretty commendable job of balancing, mainstream titles. You got like Barbie and, the things that people have hearing about. But for the festival, I'm curious how you kind of strike that balance between, the entertainment films, the ones that are going to challenge you, make you think, the ones that will, maybe talk about a political issue or a social issue. Like, how do you kind of blend that all together?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we'll have a little over 20 films here this year, new films primarily, but also some restorations. We like to showcase some kind of restored films. So those will run the gamut from things that are probably gonna, we'll be playing Eileen this year, which is, stars Anne Hathaway. So we've got some star power there. And then, we've got some smaller films that you may never catch anywhere else. Because I think a huge part of what any film festival does, in my mind, is it's a possibility is the possibility of discovery, right? Going to a film festival is kind of, hopefully you are surprised. You surprise yourself. Pick something that you really want to see, but then just walk into something that you would never otherwise go to. Because I think that's really, I think once you kind of, again, give yourself into the mindset of going to the film festival and being open to new experiences and maybe films or, genres that you normally wouldn't engage with, it's just a chance to be moved, like you said, to wind up on another planet and wonder how you got there. But yeah, so, I mentioned Eileen, that's got some big star power. We've got some other festival hits from the Cannes Film Festival earlier in the year. Four Daughters is another big one that I think will be in some conversations, Oscar conversations later this year. About Dry Grasses was a big hit there as well, prize winner. But then we've got some small films. This Much We Know is a film that is adapted actually by from an essay, a book from an author who lives here in Iowa City, John DeGata. Oh, cool. So that's kind of an interesting one. We've got a number of smaller films that, again, you might not otherwise see. The Taste of Things, Music, Egoist. These are films from around the globe. It's really a pretty international selection. There are probably almost half of the films come from outside of the U.S. Or might be co-production. So it's really a chance for you to see some pretty eclectic fare. But if you want to play it safe, there's always some nice friendly ones. I should mention too, our opening night film, Robot Dreams, is a film that is based on a graphic novel by Sarah Varon, who lives in Chicago, and she'll be here on opening night to talk about that adaptation afterwards. But it's a film that premiered at Cannes. It's a Spanish production. It's completely wordless or without dialogue, I should say.
Wow.
And based on this graphic novel that is also without dialogue, but just a film that I guess is universal, right? And you can, it works for all ages. So hopefully we see lots of people there, young and old, and from all different walks of life.
Just speaking of like what the film, what the festival does rather for the Iowa City community, I just feel like it's good to touch on that for this because, apart from just like supporting local business and whatnot, I feel like people that are attending this festival, you're also showing a lot of these artists, regardless of if they're filmmakers or not, you're showing them direct support, and I'm assuming you're able to, probably like buy their books and, do other things like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, so Refocus Film Festival is obviously, we're a film festival, but we are in collaboration with the Iowa City Book Festival, as well as Hansher's Infinite Dreams Festival, or Infinite Dream, singular, which is, focused on kind of the enduring American dream. And so that offers us a chance for these three festivals to share a weekend. So whether it's, film that really gets you moving, or books or music, you've got a festival here that kind of, you can really sink your teeth into those. But then you're also welcome to kind of wander, and you might come for the film festival. You might end up at an author's reading over at the book festival at the same time. You might go to a concert at Hansher, and then the next day you might end up seeing a matinee here as part of the film festival. So it's really, I think, hopefully, especially for folks who might not live here, just a chance to like get a hotel room, spend 24, 48 hours here in Iowa City, and really get to know the place. Once you park your car, you don't really have to get in it again. That's one of the great things about Iowa City. You can just engage with so much art in such a compact space. And
looking at your guys' pass offerings that you have, or the passes, I should say. Sure. I mean, you got different packages of them. I think there's something to me kind of for every sort of festival person. I think even the day one was like, Fest Curious kind of behind it, where it's just like, you're like kind of like interested, but like you don't want to like go all in and commit. Could you tell us about the prices for this thing?
Yeah, so you spoke to the three different festival types. We've got an omnibus all access pass, which gets you into like, that's like all you can eat basically. However big your appetite is, that you can engage in something throughout the festival. Mm-hmm. And so those passes are actually already sold out this year because we limit them so that anyone with one of those passes can truly get into everything that they want to. And then after that, there's the Avid Pass, which is 8 films, and then the Debut Pass, which is 4 films. And all 3 of those pass levels include guaranteed admission on opening night, because that's our big kind of community-wide celebration. Again, it's a film that everyone should enjoy, and then a party afterwards. So once you get your opening night ticket, and then you can choose however many more tickets that your pass allows. So yeah, if you're just fest curious, and maybe you've never even seen 4 movies in one day before, or in one weekend before, give it a try. Because I think you really do come to have a different relationship with film and with your fellow moviegoers when you spend that sort of time together. So I think, it's something that is well worth experiencing. It's a different sort of experience than just going to a Friday night film.
But speaking of experiences, what are you hoping for people to walk away with from this first year? And then I would also add on to this, where would you like to see Refocus head in the future? It's 2 big questions.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. This is our second year, and I think we're still educating people about what a film festival is. So
well, I was going to say, I hope in my small way, I'm helping with this.
Absolutely. No, I think, it's been quite a while since Iowa City has had a film festival. So I think there's plenty of folks here who've never been to a film festival. So really, yes, I do hope that people will, however, bold they might be, to jump in, whether it's 4 films, 8 films, a whole weekend worth of films, to really come into the fest. And I would say, again, do something that you'll, pick a film that you're pretty sure you're going to enjoy. Pick a film that is going to challenge you, and then just see what happens, too. I think leave yourself open to see what some of your other festival goers might recommend. Just kind of go with the flow. But just be around, be present, because I think, again, part of a festival is the communal aspect. And
Absolutely.
So it's not just about, watching a film and heading out to the car and driving home. It's about, staying here, having conversations. So we've also got happy hours that we schedule during the festival. We try to make it easy for people to connect with their fellow festival goers. So really, I just hope people give it a chance to really just, I think, do something new and exciting for themselves, because I do think that you'll come out a different person.
Well, I definitely think that film festivals are a unique kind of melting pot, if you will, of a lot of different artistic mediums kind of coming together. But then the people as well. You meet really interesting people at film festivals, and you're not likely to meet them in any other circle that you maybe travel in. But then I always try to encourage somebody that hasn't gone, because I admit the first time I went to a film festival, it was intimidating.
Yeah.
I'm a guy that likes movies, but I'm like, I don't know, if I'm gonna really fit in with people here, if I'm gonna have it's gonna be awkward, they're gonna talk to me or not talk to me. But you're in good company. You know, everybody is kind of there for a similar reason. They get that. So it's as they say, it's only weird if you make it weird. So don't do that. Definitely have a good time at the festival, because I'm sure. I can't wait to attend it myself. It's gonna be great. So, got a couple fun questions for you here before we start winding this down, because I know your time is limited and I do appreciate what you gave me. What is a film universe that you would most like to live in?
Oh, a film universe.
Fictional or real, anyone you want.
I'm gonna actually I'm gonna think about that for a second, but I'm gonna go back to what you just said about meeting people at a film festival, and we kind of buried the lead. We forgot to talk about our biggest guest that we have this year.
Forgive me.
Who is Werner Herzog will be
Jesus,
here.
I can't even say it.
Werner Herzog will be here as our closing night guest. He'll receive our Cinema Savant Award, which is an award that we've given out periodically to someone who's made an incredible lifetime impact on the world of film. So Werner Herzog, you might know him as like a German new wave cinema or film director, or you might know him from his documentary films. A lot of people like Grizzly Man or Encounters at the End of the World.
The first movie I ever watched by him was Rescue Dawn.
Oh yeah, see, there you go. And he's made he's made over 70 films. He's also written some books. He's going to be here on a tour, bringing his autobiography. He's got a new autobiography that comes out October 10th, which is just 2 days before the festival. So he's doing a 5-city U.S. book tour. New York, Boston, Iowa City, LA, and San Francisco. So
when you throw those Boston, LA, and stuff like that, Iowa City on the list must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it does feel pretty good, and we're pretty excited to have him. And I think if just knowing what I do know about Werner Herzog, I think he's probably pretty curious to come to.
Have you ever met him before?
I have met. I actually met him at the Hot Springs Film Festival in Hot Springs, Arkansas, 6 years ago. And he's an incredibly gracious and kind person, and incredibly fascinating. The stories he has to tell are pretty amazing. So we're really excited that he's going to be here our final night to share his life in cinema with us.
And if I saw it too, if I'm not mistaken, tickets for that, you get a book with it, right? Or
Yep.
Maybe?
Yes, you do. So because it's a book tour, that's part of part of how we are fortunate enough to have him here, is that everybody buys a book and we get to.
To me, that's just another cherry on top. That's a great bonus.
Absolutely. There's no way he's going to be able to go through all those stories in one evening. So you get to take some stories home with you as well. So that's a big thing.
So do you think about the movie universe?
So a movie universe I would like to inhabit. I'm gonna go. I was always a big I grew up in the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s. So like I love Goonies and kind of that adventure world. And I think I would like to live in Indiana Jones's world. Like if I could live in one universe, it's that kind of adventurous, that guy who gets to travel the whole world. Speaking of Werner Herzog and like this love of adventure, I think the Indiana Jones universe would be.
I could see that, because the interesting thing with that is that, like, there's a lot of historical based things that are in it, but then there's a fantastical element to it too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great series. We're actually going to show. We're showing right now the first 3 Indiana Jones films, which I really think of as like their own trilogy. And then yes, they made a few more films, but really those first 3, and those are the ones that I think of when I think of.
I mean, those are like the staples of the franchise. I mean, I mean, it's actually kind of almost weird saying it's a franchise because it was meant to end on Last Crusade, but
right.
That's a whole other thing. One more question for you, and then I'm just going to do the final recap on this so people will just get the bottom line information.
Sure.
If you took away nothing else from this episode. What is the most unique or odd item that somebody has left behind in one of your theaters here?
Well, it's funny, actually, up on the shelf there, I don't know if you can see it, is Michael Moore's Aquafina, which he didn't drink when he was here. No. We gave him a bottle of water, and he didn't even open it. So,
how long has that been sitting there?
It's been there for, it was, I think, 2020, so it's been there for a few years.
I was thinking like maybe 10 years ago or 20 or something like that. That's pretty funny, though. Who found it?
I think it was just, at the end of the show, he came for a screening, and when he left, it was just sitting there under his director's chair, and we put it up on the shelf, and
I love it,
and hang on to it.
All right, so bottom line for this festival, Thursday, October 12th through Sunday, October 15th,
Yep.
20 to 30 films, give or take?
Yeah, it'll probably be in the low 20s. Yep.
And I would just say, as far as features go, it's beyond features. There's special experiences here. It's not just Q&As.
Yeah. We'll have kind of a surprise kind of
didn't even ask if there's going to be
screening.
surprises.
Well, there will be, but
yeah.
they wouldn't be surprises if we showed them here. So you just have to show up to figure out what those are. But yes, it's beyond film time. We'll have a short film package. We're having, conversations and happy hours and chances to mingle with your neighbors and maybe some visiting artists.
That's pretty cool.
Take home a book.
Any final words that you got?
No, I mean, I'm just, I'm so excited to see this community turn out again. Past sales are already ahead of where they ended up last year. So we know there's going to be lots of people here, and it's just wonderful to celebrate cinema here in a community that whether it's they're new to cinema or whether they've been a lifelong movie fan. There's just so many people that are eager and enthusiastic to come out to the movies.
Well, count me as eager, and the same with the audience here, because if they're listening to this and they're not rushing to come to Refocus, I don't. I was going to say, you're listening to the wrong podcast if you're listening to this and not getting into the movies. But I appreciate your time, man. I know you got to get going and stuff like that, but this really was a treat. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.